Hello and welcome back to another episode of Chocobo Dash. As always, I am one of your hosts, Nell Celestine.
And I'm your other host, Elliot Lefebvre.
And I'd like to welcome back to episode 8 of Chocobo Dash. That's right, we've been doing this for 2 consecutive months now. It's been quite a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it feels like it's been a while. I'm sad that we got it started when we've been kind of in a feast or famine cycle for the game's news, but I've been enjoying doing it for the past couple of months, and hope you've all been enjoying listening as much as we've been enjoying making the show.
I know I've been enjoying making it. It's not exactly been the best schedules. We've had some problems here and there getting things done, especially when it comes to trying to get that on iTunes. Oh my god, that was a headache. But regardless, let's dive into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, shall we?
Sounds like a good idea to me. Let's
start with what you've been up to this week.
Well, honestly, I have had a very, very busy week, as I've had for the past few weeks. So I've been dealing with launches. Most of what I've gotten in is a little bit of role-playing here and there, and some leveling on some of my alts. Yes, I do have a couple of alts that I'm kicking around because it's not costing me any extra money. And sometimes it's nice to just say, you know what, I don't feel like doing any dungeons. I don't feel like doing anything else. I just feel like toying around a little bit on a Marauder.
No, that makes perfect sense. How high level are they if you're not going into any dungeons?
Oh, I'm not saying I'm not going into any dungeons. I just don't feel like doing the high-end roulette. These
are... okay.
The highest alt that I have is just about to unlock Warrior.
Not bad, not bad.
So what have you been up to this week?
Well, out of game, I tried to do a bit of streaming over the weekend. It was not exactly the most successful thing in the world. Comes to find out that my internet connection for uploads and streaming does not mix very well. So those of you who did come to the stream, I apologize. If you would like, I will continue to stream what I can, but the combat scenes for the game will be a little bit too a lot pixelated. There's nothing really I can do to fix that. Aside from that, in-game, I've been trying to keep up with my soldier. I wasn't able to do it that much this week because I was Atma grinding.
Ooh.
Hey, remember before when I said I was at 2 Atma?
Yes.
I'm at 9 now.
But still. Ooh. Well, let's not... How many times have we ranted about Atma now? I don't think we need to rant about that again.
No, we don't need to rant about it, but, gotta work at it if you want it.
So, as you probably know when you're watching/listening to this is our pre-E3 show. This is going to be coming out on Saturday just before E3, which is going to have a lot of new information about the game and where it's going from here. And it's also before the next live letter, which is going to be on June 12th, which means another big dose of information, reveals, all sorts of fun stuff to talk about. So this episode, we're mostly going to be doing speculation, talking about what we've seen and what the hints are for what comes next. So, Nell, do you want to start off with something that you feel is particularly pertinent?
Well, first and foremost, let's just do a quick overview of the themes for the official part of the live letter that will be in English. We will be finding out more about Frontlines, Crystal Tower, the main scenario and Hildebrand quests, Chocobo raising, as well as private rooms for housing. That would be the rooms that you would get with the free companies. I would like to tackle the Hildebrand / main storyline quests, if I may.
Go right ahead.
My belief is that we're going to be continuing the main storyline into the civil unrest that's going on in Ul'dah. Now, that's not really spoiling anything because you can start up in Ul'dah, do even a couple quests in Ul'dah, and you'll see it. There's refugees sitting outside. There's the Alamegans over in Little Alamigo. And if you've gone through the main storyline quest up to this point, you know a little bit about the Domans. I personally think that it's going to not reach full-out civil war, because that would be almost necessary for a full expansion in and of itself for the amount of detail that would cover. So I'm thinking that it's going to be civil unrest and that we're going to solve the problems with the syndicate.
See, I'm actually kind of the mind that I don't think the next main story is going to go there, just because of what we're looking at in terms of content. In the next patch, we know that we've got 3 new dungeons coming out, one of which is in Limsa, one of which is in one of which is in La Nocia, one of which is in the Shroud, and the other one is in Querthus, rather than being in Thanalan. Furthermore, we know that Ramuh is coming out, and we know that he is the Sylph's guardian, so I almost wonder if that's going to be something that we are aware of, but more of a sideline compared to the main conflict. I'm thinking that this one's going to actually have a little bit more to do with Querthus, and I think it's going to have a little bit more to do with both the Ixali and the Sylphs. I'm thinking myself that it might involve the Ixali pushing a little further into the Shroud, because if you remember 1.0, that was a recurring thing, was that the Ixali would just keep coming further and further south into the Shroud, and that the Whalers didn't really have the means to push them back reliably. So I'm thinking, because we knew that we were told in the main storyline that Ramuh was not an immediate threat to Gridania, but now he is, so I'm thinking if there's a little more pressure on the Sylphs, that might be a cause for concern, so to speak.
Well, that, and it's going to have something to do with the Sylph dailies. You don't have to complete them, but they said it would bring context to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you that have finished the Sylph dailies, you're a stupid jerk in a Chocobo suit.
See, you hate him. I loved that guy. I absolutely loved the resident jerk in a Chocobo suit, specifically because he was a jerk in a Chocobo suit.
I do hope we get that mask again.
Yeah, I hope that it's one of those 1.0 rewards, and I'm glad that, right now it's kind of a 1.0 legacy reward, but it'd be nice to let other people have that too.
Especially with this suit. With the suit. But moving on to the Hildebrand stuff, I don't know what they're going to bring. I don't care, because it's going to be golden. It's going to be golden. They have yet to make me not laugh during the Hildebrand quest line.
Hildebrand is one of my favorite things in the entire game at this point. I'm not going to lie. There's not much to be said there, except that I look forward to the further adventures of the Gentleman Inspector himself.
The Gentleman of Light. But yes, I'm looking forward to more of that as well as the possibility of the Gilgamesh Extreme.
That could be fun, although it depends on the unlocks that you need to do. Because while I know, Nell, you have gotten past Titan Extreme, there are a lot of people who still find Titan Extreme either extremely difficult or outright unwinnable. And I still think that gating Leviathan and Good King Mog past that was kind of a mistake, but we've talked about that in the past.
Hopefully, then, that when they bring it out, that the only restriction is you have to complete the original one first.
Yes. But
let's shift topics here a little bit, though. Why don't we shift to Chocobo raising?
Oh, yes. Let's please talk about Chocobo raising, because this is fascinating, and this is not something that I would have thought we would have gotten this early on. I figured this would be something coming with, either an expansion or with after personal housing had been fully rolled out, as opposed to partially rolled out via rooms. This is going to be interesting, because you will now, as it stands right now, everyone's Chocobo, your personal Chocobo, is male. You cannot get a female Chocobo, even if you name it, for instance, Princess Chocobo or Lady Chocobo, or this Chocobo is a girl. So obviously, once 2.3 comes out, you're going to need some way to have female Chocobos around, because I really hope that none of our listeners need to be explained how Chocobo raising and breeding is going to work.
Well, let's just hope it's not like Jurassic Park.
That would... Okay. But... No. Okay. But... Okay. Yeah, no, that's not... No. So we're going to need some way of accessing female chocobos. And the question is, how do we start breeding these for different traits? Because that's going to be... That's the obvious thing. When you talk about chocobo raising, everyone thinks of Final Fantasy VII and your army of different chocobos with different abilities and different, skills as you leveled them up. So the question is, how do you start getting that into the mix?
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing at the fact that I made you break there.
Cherish this moment. It's being recorded on the internet forever.
But I'm hoping that they'll allow us to breed for colors, and that having the chocobo as a companion as well, that you can actually end up with multiple companions and maybe even summon 2 or 3 of them. Because then you can have your own small party of chocobos.
There is also the fact, and the companion interface seems to be set up to support multiple companions, so that's a good thing. I also find it interesting, most of us probably have been thinking in terms of, 2 chocobo the chocobo colors, like you have the red chocobos, white chocobo, blue chocobo, whatever. However, interestingly enough, if you summon the your chocobo, your Grand Company chocobo, it is yellow with sort of a goldish color around the wingtips. If you summon the Legacy chocobo, though, if you have it, you'll notice that it has black wingtips. So it may be possible that we're looking at even more color variations and trait variations than we have seen in previous games.
Yeah, it might not be a straight one color type. It might be depending on the attributes that you get for your chocobo. If there is attributes, depending on the attributes, it might determine what your chocobo looks like. As an example, let's say you decide to make your chocobo more of a jumper because remember they said they're going to be adding exploration puzzles including jumping. Then you might have chocobo with slightly different colored and shaped wings.
You'd have crested chocobos or tufted chocobos, or basically I figure this will be a good place to shut down my entire life just to raise fictional birds.
Go chocobo breeder class.
Yes, total. That would be wonderful and also terrible at the same time for pretty much the same reasons.
But one thing I should mention here, and this will make a lot of people happy, is that in 2.3 they will be allowing for you to be able to, I think they said reset your stats for your chocobo.
Yes.
Now, whether or not that's a full reset to level 1, or if that's you get to redistribute your points as you see fit, I don't know.
Hopefully the former, but the idea that or hopefully the latter, I'm sorry. The idea that they would just reset your chocobo back to level 1 is a little,
If we can be multiple jobs, why can't our chocobos?
Yes, agreed. So if I may, though, because something I mentioned in passing, obviously we're talking about private rooms for housing, which is the first part of private housing, and honestly, I think this might not have been the smartest implementation simply because, while almost everyone is in a free company at this point, and most free companies do have a house, the fact that the first rollout of the housing is going to be purely linked to your free company, and we haven't yet heard, for instance, what happens if you leave your free company, that may not have been, I think, the wisest implementation for personal housing right off the bat.
We'll have to see how that goes from here in, but we should be getting more information at the E3 event. Now, whether or not we'll get it all in English is up for debate.
And that is something of a sticky point because, actually, Nell, why don't you outline this? Because you've been reading up more about this, and you have more of a personal mad-on for it. With good cause, I might.
It's not really a mad-on. It's more of a disappointment. From my understanding, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. From my understanding, there's going to be 2 live letters, one in English, one in Japanese. The English one is first, and it will have a live Japanese translation, and the Japanese one is second, and there is no translation. None.
And once again, it's like, we were talking just a couple weeks ago about how Square has a long history of not seeming to realize that this, global game is played by people all over the globe, including a lot of people who don't speak Japanese. And it's, it's really time to get with the idea that, your fans who don't speak Japanese are just as excited to hear about new stuff coming out for the game. Please let us be excited about it. Please let us look forward to it.
Please look forward to the translation so you can look forward to it.
There you go. Or you could just, translate it so we could actually look. And, we could be completely wrong here. That is based on quite possibly partial information. It might be based on something that was originally planned and was since discarded. So it is possible that we are wrong and this is not going to be the case. But at the same time, it says something that it sounds plausible and it sounds like something that would happen. So there's that element of fear there and that element of, not being sure if we're actually going to be able to get access to the same amount of information as other people who are all playing the same game and we're all trying to coexist and find out things at the same time.
Not to mention we still don't have the official translation for the previous live letter yet.
We have the, translation that was released as it was happening, but that's not always 100% accurate.
Not to mention we do have the short question answers that were posted, but again, doesn't go into, the depths of detail along with the timing and everything. Especially when it says shows video.
Yes. Oh, really? It shows a video, yeah. However, obviously, we are very excited about what we're going to be seeing at E3 because that's going to be the big centerpiece of next week. For those of you who don't know, E3 is the middle of the week, so it will be the live letter. There will be a live letter there in English, as we were just talking about, that will be going on Tuesday, June 10th. And we don't know what's going to be announced there just yet, although a lot of people are speculating that it's going to be something about the expansion. So that's going to be the big centerpiece of news for Final Fantasy XIV next week. The next live letter
is Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday the 12th at 10 a.m.
Yep.
And that's going to be covering a lot of the stuff from 2.3.
Yeah. So we're not sure about all the stuff that's all of the in-depth revelations just yet. I know we have speculated. I don't want to say over-speculated, but we've talked a lot about what we think we're going to see revealed this year at E3. So that's something to definitely keep your eye on if you're a fan of the game, which if you're listening to this podcast, you almost certainly are. Obviously, that's also going to have a lot of other games there and a lot of other Square stuff. So, is there anything that we haven't already talked about that you think we're going to the show? No.
I don't know. That's really hard to speculate, but I think we're going to get hit by something out of left field. Possibly another, not seasonal, but a special event again. I'm thinking we're going to get hit by something out of left field, because remember, that's when they pretty much announced, well, not announced, but pseudo-announced the Lightning event.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think we're going to hear something that we, like, I and a lot of other people, not just me, have very much speculated this is probably going to include an expansion announcement, but I definitely think we're going to also see something that we would not have expected or predicted, because if it's just, say, an expansion, it's too obvious. There's too much space there to do something else and something that's really going to surprise players. So I would if you are able to, I would keep a close eye on what takes place while the show is running.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to look at some of the other stuff that's being announced by Square and other companies, because you never know what might interest you.
Yep.
But I think that should pretty much cover everything that we have for today, unless you want to bring anything else up.
No, I think we've got obviously, what we have right now is a situation where we don't know a lot yet, but we're going to start knowing a whole lot once E3 kicks off, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of stuff to chew over then. So unless you had anything else to say or anything else you wanted to bring up, I think that's a good place to leave off for this week.
All right, well, I'll just close it up by stating that we will be recording the next episode directly after the live letter.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be discussing a lot of points about the Tuesday live letter there. We will not be able to obviously discuss the Thursday points, but we will be discussing that the week after.
Yep. Just because of the times that we record things and the content lag, basically.
Okay. So then, if there's nothing else,
can't think of anything. I think we're good.
All right then. As always, you can leave a positive or negative comment in the box below. Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can follow us both on Twitter. I'm Nell_Celestine.
And I'm Elliot_Lefebvre.
You can follow us there on Twitter. You can also check out Elliot's official page where he does post stuff on a regular basis. You can check out my live stream. I'm not going to be doing too much with that yet, but feel free. It's twitch.tv/NellCelestine. And basically, if you want to leave a post on the Moglog or over on XIV Network, we will get to those eventually. They aren't as in a timely manner as, say, if you post it on the video or to Twitter, but we do look at all the things and we do make sure we address everything.
Yep. We're always happy to hear what you think, and that also goes for if you just want to tell us, I love the show, I think you could do this differently. Any ideas, suggestions, feedback, comments, we're always listening. We're always happy to hear from you.
And if you don't like something about the show, feel free to tell us too. Just make sure you actually tell us in detail, and rather than say like, oh, I don't like it because blah. But actually, give us a little bit of details, because we always do want to improve the show, because the show is only 10% for us and 90% for you guys.
Yep. We love making it, and we love part of why we like making it is because we like the idea that people can have a show that they can listen to and enjoy. So if there's something that you think would make it more enjoyable for you, by all means, let us know so we can put that in.
All right, then. As always, this is Nell Celestine.
And this is Elliot Lefebvre.
Bidding you adieu.